This is Love Your Villain, where we step into the arena and peel back the mask. The place we stop pretending we're okay and start getting curious about the parts we've been taught to hide. The angry, needy, jealous, anxious, avoidant, addicted, manipulative parts. The part that lashes out or shuts down, pushes love away, isn't broken. It's your story trying to speak. The villain you've been trying to silence is actually the part of you that needs the most love. Here, we don't shame the villain, we listen to it, get raw, intimate, and honest, while practicing being perfectly imperfect. I'm your host, Ila Casselman, and welcome to Love Your Villain. To have you as my first guest ever on the Love You Villain podcast. This is something that I've been wanting to do for a while, as you and I have spoken about quite a bit. I just feel like right now it's so fitting to have conversations about the deepest, darkest, most evil part of our personality that holds us back, where we were told from such a young age that it was unlovable or unlikable. And if we show it to people, we won't taken care of, or we will get rejected because we're sticking up for ourselves, or we're teaching people how they can and can't treat us. So that can come back with some bad reactions when you're doing that for yourself. What I'm intrigued about most of all is the authenticity behind a podcast like this, where we can have these candid, raw, intimate conversations about who we are underneath the ego that we display to everybody else. I'm sure your family's seen the deepest, darkest side of who you are. Like, you have people very close to you, your husband, like you guys have been through such deep, wounding, heartbreaking events in your life that you've come out on the other side. I just wonder, when you show that side of yourself, easy was it between you to be able to do that?
It's a very good question. And it took a very long time, based on stories I was told about myself growing up, stories I then took upon myself to tell myself. The original stories were, if you're to share those parts of yourself, you're weak, that you need to display a particular professionalism and all these sides. Whereas I found the older I get, I want to be real with people, including myself, and only show the real me. So if someone asks me, how am I? I'm not going to just say I'm fine or I'm great. I'm actually going to say what's going on and to the degree of what that is. And I think my story, and also what I tell all my clients, is that same thing of there's such strength in showing those vulnerabilities, because we also often, and I've been one, I still do it, and I'm aware of it, compare and despair. I think ties back into our topic of imposter syndrome, these two sides of it that are so strong, like I'm not good enough for that. And I think that everyone needs to know, hey, even if you are a practitioner or whatever you do in your job, you're going to have vulnerabilities, you're going to have self-doubt, you're going to have fears. The difference is whether attacking those head on and being real about it and working through. I think the more I used to be as a young child and a young woman, I don't want to show those things. I don't want to ask those questions, because what if that person thinks I'm stupid? What if I look this way? But the older I get, the more I realize I need to speak my truth. And whether that person's what I've said or not, that's their journey, not mine. But what I've noticed more and more is that it's helped so many by sharing my vulnerabilities and my insecurities about me showing up in the world, like this podcast today, and the fear about, what am I looking like? What am I going to say? What if I sound stupid? What if my hands are like this, like they normally do? And all these different things that compile themselves when all these fears come up. I just think it's so important today to share that, and especially as women, and with so much mental health issues and things around the world going on, that it's more and more important to be open and honest, and also seek help from others. We can't do this journey alone.
No,
And
absolutely
we
not.
historically never did. And especially as women, we feel we've got to do it all ourselves, be the mum, be the caregiver, be the worker, be the cleaner, all the things all the time, all at once. And we think that getting help from someone else is, that you shouldn't do that, and you should do it yourself. You shouldn't complain, because it's selfish to focus on yourself.
That's right. Very selfish. And also, it's the way we've been brainwashed and isolated from reaching out and asking for help. And it's not just women, it's also men. I think men are stunted these days emotionally based on the fact that they weren't allowed to have any emotions and they weren't allowed to ask for help either.
Absolutely. And I think where we're both from, being on the other side of the globe, it was a particular thing. And I know all my male friends, my family, any male was told, harden up.
Yeah.
Literally take a concrete pill and harden up, because you shouldn't show that because you're a man.
Yeah.
And that side of things, if you were to show emotion, you could be bullied, beaten up, so many different traumas. And within the family, you're a man, stand up. This is where you should be. Don't take that.
Yeah.
You shouldn't get help. You should just, if you've got a sore leg, then just deal with it.
Yeah, suck it up.
Like, suck it up. That's exactly right. There's so many sayings about it. And I feel so grateful to be on this side of the globe, especially the fact that I'm a mum of all boys, that they actually are getting to grow up in an environment that is more sensitive to emotion, that it's okay to be a guy and share those things and express those things. And I'm grateful that I'm in that place in my life that my children see the things that I go through and witness, and that I'm open about where I'm at, why I'm crying, what's going on with me, so that they're aware that these things happen and the problem shared is a problem halved.
What do you think it is in you that overrides the squashing of the imposter coming up and telling you, you're a shit mum, you can't do this, you're not beautiful enough, all the things that could hold you back and stop you from moving forward? What is it that you have that takes you over to the other side and says, no, I'm overriding you, imposter syndrome. You're not going to override me?
I think awareness is number one, knowing that's arising and what that is. And through my studies as well, I think a huge part is my fear. And that fear a lot of the time means that we're on something called our green growing edge, that there's something new that's going to be growing and forming. And of course, that's scary.
Yeah.
But also that scared feeling of fear is the same feeling as excitement, as the butterflies you get, and all those things. But knowing particularly that intuition, which is guiding all of us, is always calm and guiding. And so I've learned to become aware of which one it is, and then being able to go, that's that trying to take over again. And most of the time I laugh about it. I always crack up and think, okay, yep, that's what's happening. How funny is it that I'm trying to destroy myself right now? Whereas the essence of ourselves never do that. So I think, that awareness that this is what's happening and I'm doing this and I'm creating this. The other person over there is not thinking that at all.
It was fascinating for me with this too, because the last time we were planning to do this podcast, I was in my head going, I should just cancel all the things that I tell myself, like, who cares? Who cares what you have to say? No one gives a shit. No one even knows you. Why would anyone care about what you have to say? Does that seem true for you at all?
Oh, absolutely, the whole time.
Yeah.
It was that thing of, we can talk about this so freely when the record button is not on.
Yeah.
As soon as I see that button, I get that same feeling about it. But I think for me, what got me over that fact is I'm like, you would never, and I respect you as a human and as a practitioner, you would never ask me to do this if you didn't feel what I had to say was important for someone to hear. And so I leaned into that this is the first one. Like, what an honor to be chosen. I got chosen to do this, and that you wouldn't choose me if you thought that I was going to suck.
So true.
Right?
100%.
And so I kind of leaned into that, but it came up. And even saying that, look, I'm sick. And admittedly, it was being sick after having teeth extracted from my mouth. Like, it was a major deal that there was reason enough to say that. It came up, but then that awareness of, I need to take my self-care into priority. And my priority now is lying in bed and resting versus getting on this podcast, and we can schedule a new time. There was that fine line. That's been a real teaching for me, is to know when I need to stop for me. And sure, I want to show up for you, but If I'm not well, I need to prioritize me and get that rest now. So I think, again, it comes back to awareness. You become aware first. You're aware of these things. And once you're aware, you start noticing it sooner and sooner so you can override and create those new neurological pathways to literally redirect yourself, which obviously takes time and practice.
Absolutely. Yeah. What things do you think imposter syndrome has really held you back from? If you could think about things that you wanted to achieve in your life but you haven't, what would some of those things be that imposter syndrome kept you stuck and prevented you from moving forward?
Yeah, I think many areas. I think in relationships of how I've been treated in the past and then what that created in my mind that I'm not good enough. Obviously, I wasn't good enough because these people cheated on me or I was in narcissistic relationships. So obviously I deserved that. So why would I find someone who loves me? So I think relationships affected me enormously in allowing happiness into my life because of that. And I think on a professional level is all the years of who am I? Who am I to give this advice to somebody else based on stress, based on health, based on all these things? And then I sit back and look at your experience. You've been in states of chronic stress years upon years whilst having children and all these different things, and you've achieved all of this, but imposter syndrome kept coming in being like, who are you?
Yeah.
Who are you and what do you know to share anything? And it held me back for so long, and particularly finding my niche. Maybe it was that thing of no one else has done it, therefore there mustn't be that market for it. You can't find it anywhere online. No one wants to do it. You're not going to get any business from this because it's not out there. So I think it's held me back so much in my own journey because that big piece, who are you and who cares?
Yeah, it's the who cares, right? Who gives a shit? So many people care. I think everybody has imposter syndrome. Everybody procrastinates. Everybody would like to achieve one thing or another and somehow tricks themselves into flipping or like just squashing themselves, keeping themselves in that box that they were told as a child, don't come out of that box, don't step out. Remember, this is where we need you to be so that you don't make us feel like we now have to grow and be better and step outside of our comfort zone. Because really that's what it is, isn't it? It's stepping out of your comfort zone and facing your fears and putting yourself in a position of growth when a lot of people get that sensation and have those thoughts around if they're good enough or not, and will just say, I'm not doing it, have a beer, have a joint, have a line of Coke, distract themselves in some way or another, go visit a friend, go do whatever to convince themselves why they shouldn't do that thing that they should be doing.
Absolutely. And I think it's like that thing that we spoke about the other day about the stories. The stories that others create for us. And as I'd mentioned to you, mine was about being sick. I did grow up very sick, and for numerous reasons I stayed sick that I've since healed for myself. But even today and even the other day when it came up of, oh, I think I'm still telling myself that same story, which is prohibiting me from moving across that line into exactly where I want to be, is old stories of my family introducing me as the sick one. This is our middle child, Katie. She's always sick. And when you're told these stories so often about yourself, you believe those. And it's usually by loved ones. And I had an extremely loving family and still do. But it's those stories that you then put upon yourself. And like you mentioned, even the drug addicts, they go back to that because they've been told that's who they are.
Yeah.
You are the drug addict, so you're like, may as well be. And I had that as a young girl as well, that I had my elder sister. If you're listening, I apologize, but I don't. She constantly said I was lying to the family. So I got to a point of what's the point? What's the point in telling the truth if I'm always the liar? I felt that I was never heard, so why speak up? No one wants to hear me because I just lie. So that held me back from speaking up to help anyone else through any of these things because No one wants to hear you. You should be quiet over there. Children should be seen and not heard was a thing I got told all the time. And so that became, Katie, as an adult, you should be seen and not heard. But then at the same time, you shouldn't be seen because you've got these health issues that make you look pregnant and you're not.
Yeah.
So then I had those stories. So I think I had many stories that over the years I've been slowly overriding. And it's that thing of, it's not like you get to this state of perfection, which I am one of those type A personalities that I like perfection. And we can't do that until it's perfect.
Yeah.
And can't put that website up there until it's perfect. Instead of taking imperfect action, actually creates that pathway for you. I think there's so many, the compare and despair, the imposter syndrome, all these things override each other. And there's so many of us out there. I think you're right. Everyone to a degree has it. It's just whether people have at younger age been able to override that quickly.
Absolutely. I think it depends on what it is. I heard somebody the other day say, I started and put myself out there and sell this product. No problem. Go do an audition on Hidden Dragon or whatever that dragon show is for businesses. No problem. But go to my kids' daycare and try and arrange for my 2 kids to be in this class for this many hours per day. I lose it. Crying, I'm all over the shop. So I think that it's whatever emotional, whatever the emotional weight is for that particular thing I think it holds the most weight. So whatever the emotional, can you help me out here? Do you know what I'm saying?
I know exactly what you're saying, because it is that. And I think we all have the different weights, that some things it's easy. It's like that. It's no problem. You've got it. You bringing up the daycare thing, that straight away brings me anxiety. I've always had issues. When I first had my first son, I was 23 and everyone was like, oh, poor you. Why poor me? Poor you because you're so young. You shouldn't be having kids yet. What? I shouldn't? Oh my God.
Yeah.
And then every time I went to drop my son off at school, it was all these older people that I then felt so alienated from, because I'd been told
You were too
that
young.
I don't fit and that I'm too young. So I think it's these particular weights get put on us that hold us back.
Yeah.
And again, to rewire that does take a lot of effort and a lot of awareness and practice to make change of that. It makes it easier to just not.
Yeah.
And because someone else will say again that you're too young, you're too sick, you're too lazy, you're these other things. We get told stories that we then tell ourselves, and then not even looking ancestrally, the stories that our ancestors told ourselves that we carry, that we're not even aware and not even ours.
Yeah, absolutely. That's huge. I think there's going to be some generations after us that haven't been as emotionally traumatized as our generations, and like the baby boomers and the generation before. Basically, any generation that was told emotions don't even exist. The younger generations are going to be dealing with this generational ancestral trauma. Like, they're going to be feeling it more in their body, and they're not going to know what the fuck that's about. They're going to be like, where did this come from? It's not me. I wasn't abused. I had my parents holding space for my emotion and validating me, and I have this emotional literacy, but I still feel cellularly traumatized, right?
I think so, but I think that we are becoming more and more aware and more able to talk about these things, and more people are sharing their stories, their journeys, their struggles. That awareness again comes back in, and that's how you because you know it's there. I know that's there. That's not me talking. That's that, like, literally like on those cartoons where the little devil's on one side and the little angels on the other. And the devil is that imposter saying, you can't do that. Who are you to go out there and help other people when, no one wants to listen to you? And then the angels, no, but look at all these things you've gone through, that if you shared this, it would be helpful. I think it is going to change and is changing. And I know in my lifetime, in my journey, where I used to be the shy little girl who wouldn't say a single thing, because I had so much self-doubt, so much it was potentially crippling to me. And I had 2 loud sisters either side of me in age that were bubbly and confident and social, and I would shrivel up and literally wouldn't raise my hand in school to ask the question because someone once shot me down for it. I couldn't speak literally as me growing up. And then as I've gone through my journeys, I'm like, I can't have gone through this for no reason. And then just finding out what those are. And the more you tap into that, the more the pathways open up, the more you get aligned with the right type of people, the ones that are meant to be in your pathway, the right community, the right support, all the right things that when these things pop up, you can share with those people and they're like, oh, I get it. But Katie, what about this? What about this within you that's great? What about that? I don't see that. And then you're like, oh, okay. You don't see that. You think I'm confident. Like we were both saying that I'll think I was really shitty in the podcast. You'll think I'm great and vice versa, that we'll both be thinking these things and imposter syndrome's going to come in and take over in some level. But we have each other to be able to support that. So I think community and those right people to support you is another key piece, I know, for my journey and for others as well.
I just had imposter syndrome while we were just having this conversation because I was trying to get to the crux of what I was talking about from that emotional standpoint. And then I literally got in my head and then asked for you to help me because I can't think of that word. And that is something that I have always done for my entire life. I get in my head while I'm having conversations with people and I will lose whatever brain connection I need to find the right words to express myself. The imposter syndrome will literally override itself within a second. It is crazy.
I have the same. It's like you lose the train of thought. It's like, where did the train go? Oh my God, what's wrong with me? I can't access that now. What if this happens when I'm talking to someone that I'm helping or anything like that? That same kind of thing, which is, I think, also taps into anxiety. And I think is like I was mentioning before, how there's like fear and excitement and anxiety all sit within the same part of the body, and they're essentially the same feeling, but they show in slightly different ways. I think imposter syndrome shows as anxiety for people because they overanalyze it all, and the mind just starts ruminating over and over again of whatever it is, that they actually lose sight of actually where they were, and it's that thing that takes over.
It's really like a freeze, isn't it? From a nervous system standpoint, it's like the freeze portion. It's not the flight, it's not the fight. It's a deer in headlights.
Yeah, should I move or should I not move? And that's so true. When our nervous systems are so out of balance and we've been stuck in that high state of stress, which we could talk another 10 hours on about the tiny micro stresses in every human's life today. But when you're in that, it makes those things happen that much faster because it's like you literally can't cope. So your whole body and your brain freezes you to try and help you, but it doesn't help you, which makes it worse.
Yeah, absolutely. It reminds me of being in school and the teacher wrote a bunch of things on the board and then you had to write the answers down. And then they went around individually, person to person, and you had to give out your answer.
Yes.
I was literally the dumb kid at school. Like 100%. If we're going to look intellectually at the way the schooling system back in the 80s was set up, if you weren't good at maths and science and English, then you were screwed. And some things happened to me that kind of set me back from being up to scratch with everybody else in my year. But I knew that I wasn't at the same level as everybody else. And the teachers didn't take the time to help me or tutor me. I don't know what it was like in New Zealand.
It's the same. There wasn't support in any way. And I was exactly the same. In class, I could do great. Put me in a test, I'd fail because imposter syndrome would come and you don't know the answer. What's the answer that you don't know? Even if it was the good old multi-question, one of those things is right. And I'll get it and they'll be like, no, that can't be right. How could that be? And then I'd scratch it out, put the new one. The first one was right because it was my gut instinct that said it was right. But I would literally blank out. My mind would just shut down and then I'd be anxious the rest of the time. Couldn't do it. And then it was also told that you should be, like you said, you classified as dumb or stupid if you're not getting these results. It wasn't looked at that, well, maybe she actually needs some help in recall in her nervous system to reset and to breathe, to access the information that's there instead of straight away fight or flight, can't think of anything. The brain's not going to even do that because you're running, literally running from the test. but no one ever supported me in that. And it was always these super negative comments to me about it. So I had that same thing. Imposter syndrome came in, and that story for me was that I was dumb. So again, who am I to tell you this information because apparently I'm stupid? And then come as an adult going and studying, I'm like, wow, I'm nailing all of these tests. And I'm like, that's because you know that you get nervous about it. There's supports you can have in place to help you for that, and you're passionate about it. And if you just take one moment and take a breath, it's there. And it was. That never was there. It was coming back, I think, full circle to the harden up kind of pieces that we got taught in Australasia in that era was, yeah, you're stupid. You're dumb. Who are you?
Yeah. You're not stupid and you're not dumb. You're highly intelligent. I always love talking to you. I always love it when we hang out and get to have our deep, amazing conversations. Aside from awareness, can you give me just like another 2 ways that you move yourself from squashing yourself, so imposter syndrome coming in and trying to sabotage you, to you jumping over the hoops and achieving that goal that you wanted to set out to achieve?
I continually come back to what would I love? If circumstance, if everything that wasn't coming up and bubbling up for me right now, what would I love? And in this particular instance was, what would I love? I would love to be on a podcast sharing this information with you. So that connection to the love for me help that, which is part of my goals. So in all my goals, and I look at all my life, it's what would I love for that? If these things were not overriding it, if I say maybe I wanted to be a doctor, imposter syndrome would be like, you don't have education, you don't have this. All these things would come up, but that's circumstance, right?
Yeah.
That's it, what's happening right now. It's not what would I love. So for me, I really tune into what is this that I would love and what are my greater goals in terms of manifesting. So that one's a really big part, which helps me basically bridge the gap from where I am to where I want to be, which is bridging the gap from now crossing over that step of fear into that green growing edge is where that is for me. And then the other one, which I mentioned earlier, is intuition. Really learning to tap into my gut feel. And what is that telling me? Does that feel in alignment with who I am and who I want to be and how I want to grow? And so I know that even just by study, that intuition never puts you down. Intuition is never erratic or chaotic. It is always calm. Sit there and does that feel that way? What's that story telling you above and beyond what this imposter is saying? So I think tapping into those things for me are my tools to get from where I am to where I want to be without holding me back and taking that leap, because it's going to be scary. The old self is always trying to protect you. Let's keep you over here. And it's the same as other people will tell you, no, we'll just stay over here because it's too scary if you change, because now I have to look at myself and I might have to change. And you may be a different person than you were before, but it's that thing of it's just trying to keep you safe. So is this whole thing in alignment of good? And I look at this situation, I'm like, this is for good. Good for me, good for you, good for anyone else tapping into it. Does it align with who I am as a person? Does it align with my goals and what I would love? And does it align with my business depending on what it is that I'm doing, or my family or my values? And when it ticks those boxes, I'm like, okay, I know I need to take that leap.
Yeah.
I've just got to do it. And worst case scenario, it's terrible. And then I'll be like, okay, I won't do that again in that way, but there'll be something good that comes out.
Yeah, it's like practicing it, right?
Yeah, like a muscle.
We don't come out of the womb being able to throw a basketball or do a 180 on a snowboard. You have to practice. If you start a university degree, people that tell themselves, I'm too old, or again, I'm not smart enough, or financially I can't afford it. But at the end of the day, unless you die, you're going to get to the 3 or 4 years down the track. Wouldn't you rather get to those 4 years and be like, I have this degree? Or do you know what I mean? Rather than getting to 4 years down the track and being like, oh, I wish I really had started that degree 4 years ago because now I'd be finished it. Or I really wish that I would finish that website that I'd been trying to create, or that book I've been writing.
All those things. I think you comment on coming out of the womb. If you look at a young child and they can't walk, they see everyone else around them walking. and they start and they fall down 5 billion times every 5 seconds because that's what you do. They just think, oh, I'm not meant for walking and give up. It's not what they at all. They just get up there and go. And I think the other part too is, do we want to be living a life by design or by default? Because we can just keep living that same life we've always lived 99 times and it's the same year over and over again, or we could live 99 different years because we created that ourselves. So I think it is that thing that it's possible to create new neurological pathways to override these things, but it doesn't happen straight away. It takes time.
Yeah. It's rewiring those old belief systems, keeping us and the imposter swimming around, overriding, creating new neurological pathways. And it is changing belief systems and realizing that clearly our parents and siblings were full of shit. They put their perceptions of us onto us. Therefore, we believed that version of us was true based on their perception of us. And that's all it is. It's like the villain within us or the shadow side is really just everybody else's perception of us that we have been taught was real, but it's not. It's not real at all. And we can certainly learn and practice throughout our life overriding that little devil, that little cartoon character pecking us in the head, telling us, hold back, don't do that. Don't step out of the boundaries. Don't be better than anyone else around you. Oh, don't put it in anyone else's head that maybe they might want to grow, or maybe they might want to be better, or maybe they might want to come along for the ride with you.
That's exactly right. And I think it's also knowing that the villain is always going to be there. Like the fear is always going to be there, but we have to choose to buy into it or not. But it's always going to be. So you just have to learn the tools for yourself to move past that.
Yeah, absolutely. 100%. My darling, thank you so much for being my first guest. This has been awesome. And I deeply appreciate you.
Oh, likewise.
And you are smart. You're a smarty pants lady.
Likewise. And I'm just so grateful and honored that you wanted me to be on here and that we did this and we pushed past our fears.
Yes.
To actually join and how fun it was.